So as with our other postcode focus areas, I've decided to have a look at some of the historical and listed features in the LA1-2 area. Now, as many of you will recognise, just behind me we have Skirton Bridge, and rather unusually it's not a building, but you also get listed structures. Now this is a grade 2 listed structure. Now, back when it was first built in 1788, it would have been a two-way bridge, and it would have got us access into this postcode that we've been looking at in LA1-2. It was designed by architect Thomas Harrison and completed by Messrs Masham and Edward Exleys. It's got many decorative features that many of you will have seen, with the fancy balustrades and also these slightly unusual little tunnels that you see going through sort of like the legs of the bridge. Now, an interesting fact that I've learned about this one is at the far end, just in the distance you can see, that side was actually raised a little bit in order to allow for a light railway to go through back when goods were transported up and down the banks of the Lune. Just an unusual feature that you might not notice in your everyday life. Let's have a look at some of the other features that I found in the LA1-2 area. So the next listed building on our list is the Skirton Liberal Club, which you can see just behind me. Now, as you can probably tell, this used to be a house from the early 19th century and is built in a sort of classical style. As you can see, there's these interesting features called quoins, which you might have seen on many houses. And on the corners, you can see just here, these sort of did extra brickwork to make it sort of stand out and sort of outline the house. And you can probably see there's the ones just here, but further across just here, there's an addition on there. So the original house would have been from here to here, but then they've added a bit onto the end. So these sort of features are what gives it its listed status. Now, one of the most striking features, as you can probably see, is the porch. Now that's got ionic columns just there, which obviously hold it up and give it that grand look that back in the day would have been a sign of wealth back in the olden days. So it's another interesting listed building in the Skirton area. Our next grade 2 listed building is Rylands House. Now, the eagle-eyed ones of you will remember we did our introduction video outside this property, and I've done a bit more research to find out a bit more. Now, contrary to popular belief, it was actually built for Mr. Jonathan Dunn, who was twice mayor of Lancaster in 1836. Now, in 1874, that's when who we now know as Lord Ashton, James Williamson, took over and made it his family home, and some of these additions that you can see were added on. Now, this was built in the Greek Revival style. It's got sort of columns and all sorts of different features that give it that historic status that make it look interesting. One of the most recognisable churches in the LA1-2 area is this one just behind me, which is St Joseph's Roman Catholic Church. This was built in around about the 1900s in a perpendicular revival style, which is certainly one I haven't heard of before. Let's have a look at some of the great features that this church has to offer. So the final listed building I'm looking at today is St Luke's Church, which you can see just behind me. This is a beautiful church, especially in the summer, full of flowers and a beautiful place for weddings and christenings. Now, this was built in 1833 and also has some 19th century additions that added on over those years, probably to make it bigger. Now, it's got some great features, and just like the other churches we've looked at and the other buildings, they all have their own historical significance. I love learning about different historic buildings in the areas of Lancaster. Now, I've learned so much since we started this project. As I've mentioned before, keep an eye out as you're walking around the postcodes and see if you see any of those unusual features. Let us know if you do. They're really interesting, and like I say, the whole team are learning as we do our job. We'll have a look at the different features on this property, but I'm going to sign off for now on the historic buildings in LA1-2.